Suncoast, a private nonprofit organization serving Manatee and Sarasota counties, helping businesses grow and communities prosper with proven solutions for talent development. After more than a decade in workforce development, he knows the importance of investing in people and partnerships for creating conditions where people can do their best work. Please welcome Josh Matlock as he shares with us AI's ambivalent advantage. Josh.
All right, thanks everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, we are standing at the dawn of a new era. It's called the intelligence age. And AI is rocketing us to a future defined by intelligence that extends beyond human capabilities, fundamentally reshaping the way we work, build businesses, and interact as communities. But let's be clear, AI is not new to us. It's existed in some form for nearly 8 decades. What's different today is that we are witnessing the beginning of a massive transformative change, a shift of such magnitude that it will redefine industries, economies, and even our daily lives. This transformation is being driven by 2 key forces: the rapid growth of compute and the declining cost of compute. But what does this mean for the pace of progress? Simply put, it means that acceleration, AI is evolving at an exponential rate, moving far faster than previous technologies, revolutions like electricity or the internet. The AI breakthroughs we're seeing today will seem primitive in just a few years. So what's the impact of this disruption for our workforce? Some jobs will be enhanced, others will be eliminated. The skills required to thrive are shifting rapidly. For our companies, those that harness AI effectively will gain competitive advantage, while those that resist adaptation risk obsolescence. For our communities, AI has the power to widen inequalities or bridge them. Depending on how we integrate AI into our policies and economies and social structures, that will determine what our communities look like. The critical question is, how do we respond? How do we position ourselves for empowerment rather than marginalization in this intelligence age? That's what we'll explore today with the time I have. We'll delve into the drivers of AI's rapid advancement, its implications across industries and societies, and the proactive steps we can take to ensure AI serves as a tool for human progress rather than a force of division. Let's begin with the exponential growth in computing power and the corresponding decline in cost. When we talk about compute, it's essential we understand the fundamental metric that quantifies computational performance. So that metric, there we go. So that metric is flops. How many are familiar with flops? Ever heard of flops? Yeah, it's interesting. So flops are a measure of the floating point operations a computer can perform in 1 second. It serves as a standardized way to express a system's computational horsepower. To provide some context and a point of reference, the Apollo Lunar Module Guidance Computer was capable of 85,000 instructions per second. If any of you have an iPhone with the latest A18 Pro processor, it's capable of 35 trillion operations per second. So you can see the growth there in a number of years. This growth in computing power is a fundamental catalyst for AI advancement. It enables enhanced computational capabilities that allow for the training of ever more sophisticated AI models. It also reduces the time required for both training and inference in AI applications. It's a little hard to read, but bear with me. This graph is a good illustration of the computational growth that has occurred over the past 8 decades. As training computation has increased, AI systems have become more powerful. The dots and different colors on the graph indicate AI systems and their domain. For example, vision is in pink, Games are in green, drawing is in orange, language blue, and the other in purple. Shown on the vertical axis is the training computation that was used to train the AI system. So at the bottom, on the left side, you see 10 flops, the very bottom. And at the very top, you'll see 10 billion petaflops. Y'all know what a peta is? Peta is 1 quadrillion. So at the top, we have 10 billion quadrillion flops. On the horizontal axis along the bottom of the graph is a range starting in 1940 and ending in 2022. The first electronic computers were developed in the 1940s, and then from 1956 to 2010, we have what's characterized on the graph here as the pre-deep learning era. This is the era where training computation grew in line with Moore's Law. I'm sure some of y'all have heard of Moore's Law. And so Moore's Law is the doubling roughly of every 20 months of computation ability. But then something happened in 2010. And you see it kind of shoot straight up there in 2010. You may be wondering, well, what happened in 2010? Well, in 2010, we entered the deep learning era where we're seeing increases in training computation accelerated. So it's gone from doubling every 20 months to doubling every 6 months. This acceleration is attributed to the move from CPUs, central processing units, to, I'm sure some of you have heard this, GPUs, graphic processing units. So we're moving from Moore's Law to Huang's Law. Huang's Law is named in the homage of NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang, and posits that performance of GPUs and AI accelerators is improving at a rate much faster than the traditional 2-year doubling cycle described by Moore's Law. So from every 20 months to every 6 months. While compute capability continues to accelerate at a rapid pace, the cost of computation at the same time continues to significantly decline. For example, let's go back to the Apollo guidance computer. With its 85,000 instructions per second as a point of reference, adjusting for inflation, each Apollo guidance computer would cost approximately $1.5 million today. The latest iPhone with 35 trillion operations per second is $1,000. So we are witnessing the evaporating cost constraint on compute. I put together a visual to better illustrate this trend. The year is on the left and the cost on the right is US dollars per gigaflop on the right. Y'all familiar with giga? So giga is a billion, so US dollars per 1 billion flops. In 2023, you can see that gigaflops go all the way down to 1 penny. You can see where they were in 45. So since 2023, NVIDIA has essentially taken the marginal cost of compute to zero. It was a penny in 2023, now it's below zero, okay? What has essentially happened is the democratization of intelligence. I think it's really important to highlight and underscore how these drivers of AI advancement are exponential and nonlinear. Human intuition naturally expects linear, incremental changes, and we often underestimate how quickly exponential change occurs, resulting in surprises or underestimations of potential outcomes we never anticipated. One such recent unanticipated AI breakthrough occurred with AlphaFold. Anybody familiar with AlphaFold? No? Okay. AlphaFold is an artificial intelligence system developed by Google's DeepMind, designed to predict the three-dimensional structures of proteins based solely on their amino acid sequence. This breakthrough addresses a long-standing challenge in molecular biology, as the function of a protein is intricately linked to its structure. Prior to AlphaFold, determining a protein structure relied heavily on experimental methods such as X-ray crystallography, nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, and cryo-electronic microscopy. Say that many times. And a group of PhDs to add to it. While these techniques are accurate, they are often time-consuming, taking several months to years just to do one, labor-intensive, expensive, limiting the speed at which new protein structures could be discovered. By July 2022, roughly a year's time, AlphaFold had predicted structures of over 200 million proteins, covering nearly every known protein sequence in existence. The latest 2024 version it's called AlphaFold 3, extends capabilities beyond single protein structures to predict interactions with DNA, RNA, and other proteins. This advancement facilitates a more comprehensive understanding of molecular interactions, crucial for drug discovery and understanding cellular mechanisms. OpenAI's 5-level framework offers a good point of reference for better understanding where we are and what's ahead. So level 1 of that 5-level framework are chatbots. I'm sure you've all heard of chatbots. ChatGPT, that's a chatbot, that's level 1. These are systems capable of engaging in natural language conversations exemplified by models like ChatGPT. Level 2 are reasoners, AI systems that can solve problems at a human level across a broad range of topics. Level 3, agents, AI systems that can autonomously take actions based on user instructions or independently. Level 4, innovators, systems that can create new scientific knowledge and make discoveries. And then level 5, organizations, AI systems capable of performing the work of entire organizations, managing complex processes, and making strategic decisions. What level have we reached so far? Well, many are designating 2025 as the year of agents, in which AI agents transition from experimental concepts to practical applications influencing various aspects of society and industry. So rightly, y'all may wonder, how is this progress going to impact or will be impacting the workforce in the months and years to come? We're 3 months into 2025, the year of agents, and we can already begin to see real-world examples of what's coming. Salesforce launched a new product at the end of this year called AgentForce, a platform enabling companies to build and deploy AI agents capable of autonomously performing tasks across various business functions. Mark Benioff, Salesforce CEO, calls it digital labor. He recently shared the impact of that it's made internally at Salesforce. They deployed AgentForce to assist with customer service. They received 32,000 customer service encounters every week at Salesforce. 10,000 of those encounters are escalated to a human for resolution. It takes a 9,000 member labor force to manage this volume of encounters. Since deploying AgentForce, they've cut the number of encounters escalated to humans by half. So it begs the question, what does Salesforce do with half of those 9,000 people? Right? So as AI progresses in its capabilities and deployment in the market, we're going to see more and more occupations at risk of becoming automated. A Goldman Sachs study finds 2/3 of U.S. occupations are exposed to some degree of automation. The degree of automation exposure varies between 25 to 50% of the tasks that can be replaced. Think of occupations as a bundle or collection of tasks. Take the capabilities of an AI at any given point, pair it with the occupation's collection of tasks, and you can gain an insight into whether a job will be enhanced by AI or whether it will be replaced altogether. We can expect our workforce will experience varying degrees of empowerment and marginalization depending on the occupation, the level of AI adoption in each industry. In a labor market rapidly transformed by AI advancements, workers will soon find themselves needing to cultivate a level of AI literacy and technical proficiency to remain competitive. So, impact on companies. Companies are going to face a similar dilemma. Either embrace AI or risk being unable to compete. We're going to see a continuum of companies. At one end of the continuum are those companies that choose not to use AI at all. At the other end of the continuum are newly established companies that embed AI throughout, We'll call them AI natives. Then in the middle are the established companies that work to restructure existing teams, retrofit legacy processes, and outdated infrastructure with AI to varying degrees. AI natives are going to have the advantage in the AI-driven business landscape. We're going to see more businesses reminiscent of Instagram's trajectory. Are there anyone familiar with Instagram's trajectory? Right. So in 2012, Instagram was acquired by Facebook for $1 billion. At the time of the acquisition, Instagram had built up a social media platform with 30 million users. Can anyone guess how many employees they had? Close, 13. So we're going to see a lot of wild successes in the not too distant future with much fewer employees. In this case, it was a $1 billion company with 13 employees, and AI is not nearly at what the level it is today. So we're going to witness many exceptional wow moments. Many people and companies are going to be extraordinarily empowered. It's going to be the best of times, but for some it has the potential to be the worst of times. So as we look at what can we do as a community to respond to this changing environment, rapidly changing environment, I have a few questions for the audience here. How many of you all have used an AI application? Raise your hand. Wow, that's pretty good. How many of you all use an AI application every week? That's good. How many of you all use it every day? Fewer people, all right. So the reason I ask that is because in terms of our response as a community, I look at it from the, if the Franklin Covey has the see, do, get model. How you see the world determines what you do determines what you get. Awareness and attitudes. I think that's going to be some of the hardest work to do, is changing how people see the world so that they can see and be aware that I need to adopt this technology to remain competitive in the workforce. So once you get past the C part, as a community with those who are most at risk of being marginalized, that gets us to the three elements you saw earlier presentation, the three elements you're all well aware of: connectivity, skills and support, and devices. That's the do part, right? That's what we're all here talking about in terms of digital access for all. But that digital access for all is going to need to include AI access for all, right? So that's going to be the next thing. So as a community, we're going to have to focus a lot of time on working on the C, how people see the world, the do, and it's going to take a lot of strong partnerships and collaboration between government. It's going to take a lot of partnerships between government, business, and community-based organizations like ourselves here. Working on policy and investment of resources to make sure that we're changing minds about this thing, and then also preparing them after those attitudes have been changed. But that's my presentation for the day. I have any questions?
What happens with the taxes that would have been paid by that workforce?
That's a great question. I think the government piece of this equation is going to be really important. And I think it's going to be important for us to stay closely attuned to what's happening in the labor market. Right now, the unemployment rate is relatively low. 4%, I think, was the last national unemployment rate. It's lower than that here in our region. But if we start to see a tick up of unemployment rate, one of the things that we'll have to look at is what do we need to do to get those folks prepared to re-enter the workforce, right? And are they going to be open to learning new things to be competitive? But if we're talking half the workforce, 50% unemployment rate, yeah, those are strange times.
Okay, some of us grew up during an age of garbage in, garbage out. And what is the danger of misinformation when this is so exponential of coming out with a very bad result in this, just because it's building? What is the danger of that? Because we've seen some AI stuff that was wrong.
Yeah, I think there's a big danger. don't know, that humans are hackable. You know that humans are hackable. Just look at social media. How much time has social media platforms used algorithms to hack our attention, right? And those aren't the really smart algorithms. So, you know, I think there's a tremendous potential upside, and there's also a tremendous downside. You know, if AI gets to a point where everyone could have their own life coach as an AI, how, you know, always telling you every day, how can you improve, ways to improve, and it knows you better than you know yourself, right? So, but if AI is misaligned, if it's not aligned with our values and principles, that's when we can run into big problems.
I want to ask the second question because I heard this previously, that the demand on electricity due to AI was, again, exponential. So could you just comment on that? I heard that at an FPL forum, and I thought, ooh, what does that mean?
Yeah, you know, you have large companies, so, you know, the large frontier models out there. There's OpenAI would, you know, have their models. There's Claude, Gemini, it's Google's. Meta has Llama. So you have these big frontier models out there that use a lot of compute. These, you know, the big data centers require a lot of electricity. So that is certainly something. You know, they're looking at building. I think Meta looked at building, getting permitting to build a nuclear power plant somewhere. You know, that takes time. That's like a 5-year, 10-year process to build something like that. So I'm certainly seeing you're going to see a lot more power plant development in the not too distant future. So that's definitely something that's coming.
So AI is dependent on being able to use a computer or a machine of some sort. So isn't it also possible that some workforce will have to develop to keep everything running? You know, it's not just about losing jobs. There's got to be some other jobs being created because of the dependency on something that we can't just feed and say, go off and take care of yourself.
Yeah,
So.
I think, you know, there are definitely some safe jobs today, jobs that require our physical dexterity and actual human hands, right? Those are pretty safe today. I think the question is, how quickly are they going to be able to produce an autonomous robot to do? So the question is, how quickly will that advance? I don't know. We'll have to see. But I can tell you that today, not too long ago, there were so-called safe jobs that are no longer safe, especially jobs that require intelligence and a lot of thought, cognitive ability. What we discovered is now those are probably the most at-risk jobs, right? And so we have AI applications that are PhD level smart in a specific field, right? So it's just a matter of seeing how quickly things advance. And like I said, you look at a task that occupation, the bundle of tasks occupations are made up of, and you can just ask yourself, okay, of these tasks, what can AI do today? And based on the current trajectory, where do we see these tasks being able to be done by an AI application? And then also the cost of computer, super important element of that too, because you know, I think it was they had an AI application who could score better than a human on a PhD test. But what they didn't tell you is that it cost a lot of money for that to be produced, right? The energy cost, the server cost, right? But costs continue to significantly decline. So we just constantly have to check with ourselves every 6 months to see where we are, what's happened. Yes, sir.
The ones who are not computer savvy.
That's one of the things that we have here to solve as a community, as a group, is how do we ensure that everyone gets the upside of this great advancement, right? Making sure that people aren't marginalized and left behind. That's the task before us. One thing I will say that, the AI advancement is kind of coming in a time that could be very helpful for us, in that we are also going through a demographic drought. Our workforce is going to be shrinking. And so if we have fewer workers, we're going to have to find some solutions to fill in the gaps, and AI can be part of that solution. We just don't know how far it's going to go.
Spoke to insurance companies, medical insurance companies, which most of us have a provider, and they were using AI to help them determine the eligibility of a claim, whether it was approved or denied. And in this piece of journalism, they indicated that there was a 30% increase in declined claims. And so that's an interesting piece of information. I don't know how true that it is, but I use it as an example to query this. Have there been examples, to your knowledge, of companies of that magnitude impacting the huge population, at least in America, of a very significant, in some cases, life-threatening situation like an insurance claim? And what are their culpabilities? Has there been discussion about that? Has it been brought in the forefront? And do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know that particular instance, but I think we are definitely going to see more of those as we move along in this new era here. I think it's going to be really important for government to ensure that we have the guardrails in place, that people aren't taken advantage of. At the same time, AI will definitely be at some point able to identify fraud a lot more effective and efficiently than a team of or hundreds of humans that maybe require looking through claims or whatever. It's a matter of, is the AI aligned with what our principles are, our values, with the law, to ensure that people aren't taken advantage of.
I know that there's really technically not any safe jobs, but what would you say, like, in the immediate future would qualify as some of those more safe human-related jobs?
Probably the safest jobs today are going to be those that require some sort of physical human ability. Plumbers, trades, right? Today, yeah. 10 years from now, I don't know. Yeah. Okay, thank you.